You will hear part of a presentation about a biologist who has studied an animal called the Arctic hare. Look at the task, then listen and answer questions 1 to 8.
Good evening. My presentation tonight is about the work of Dr. David Gray. Dr. Gray is a biologist and writer whose love of the Arctic led him to study birds and mammals in Canada's far north over many decades. Dr. Gray's work mainly focused on the behavior of the Arctic hare, a member of the rabbit family, as well as on Arctic wolves and other species found in the far north of Canada. David planned and carried out a research project on the behavior of Arctic hares, making 7 research trips to the Nunavut area of northern Canada over a period of 20 years. Dr. Gray's research was what's termed an observational study, and the photographs and video footage that document the research are stored in the archives of the Canadian Museum of Nature. The study area chosen for the project was a 7-kilometer stretch of the Sverdrup Pass, which is an 80-kilometer-long pass that runs across northern Ellesmere Island in Nunavut. The study area is about 600 meters above sea level and is bounded on the north side by mountains rising to 1,500 meters above sea level, and to the south by mountains and a valley glacier leading up to a major ice cap rising to more than 2,000 meters. Within the study area of the pass, the sandy flats in mid-valley are scattered with clumps of Arctic willow trees and other types of vegetation. The animals are white in color in winter, providing the perfect camouflage in snowy conditions. So how does a researcher go about finding Arctic hares in this type of landscape? Arctic hares can be tracked by following fresh tracks in snow. Even on hard snowdrifts, it's usually possible to make out the toe marks of an Arctic hare, even when the shape of the whole foot can't be discerned. But finding the animals themselves is basically a visual search, which is fairly easy in the high Arctic because the hares don't have much vegetation to hide in. The presence or lack of droppings is a good indication of whether hares can be expected in an area. Such evidence is often found around rocks, which are a better starting place when looking for hares than wooded areas or open meadowland. Dr. Gray's research team also trapped live Arctic hares before marking them and releasing them. Wire mesh traps were found to be effective for this purpose. As bait to lure the hares in, dried apples were placed inside. Both single-door and double-door traps were used. Once inside the trap, each hare was weighed, measured, color-marked with picric acid, and tagged with a small colored and numbered ear tag. Using different combinations of colored tags in one or both ears allowed at least 20 hares to be identified individually, even when tag numbers couldn't be read. When using a telescope, some hares could be identified from up to 2 kilometers away in good light conditions, and the tag number could be read from 175 meters away. The standard hare watching equipment is a binocular telescope mounted on a tripod. The tripod makes watching for long periods possible and frees the hands for note-taking or photography. Researchers worked in shifts and watched Arctic hares 24 hours a day, but usually concentrated on the early morning and mid-afternoon shifts, which corresponded to active feeding cycles. During the breeding season, however, more effort was spent on the midnight shift, because late evening and early morning are prime times for breeding activity. After the young were born, summer observation hours were determined by the nursing schedule of the mother hares. So, before I go on to